See Farsight, Shredder in the chat. Sound check. Sound check. I think it's okay. All right. And George G, welcome everybody on this hype day. It's episode something, 22, I think. Mark it down. Episode 22 as the day we got some stuff. So I don't think I've been this excited about Custodes since it was announced that they were coming out like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So this is exciting times. Now, I know there are naysayers out there. There are people who are not completely happy, and that's understandable. But you have to remember, what we got today was a taste, like probably less than 10% of what's in the book. So don't worry. There's more stuff. And it's better than zero stuff. So you got to think of it a little bit optimistically. So we're going to try and be optimistic tonight because I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. And I think our patience hopefully will be fully rewarded, but has been rewarded a little bit. This morning on the Custodes Discord was crazy. This was before the leaks came out. When the Zote leak came out, everybody lost it. They were like, what the hell? We need Custodes stuff. We don't need this freaking Zote thing. What the hell is a Zote? Who cares about Blackstone Fortress? People were upset. And there was at least 4 or 5 comments under the Zote post to GW saying, I hope this is not instead of the Custodes leak. And they were quick to not. They were quick to then say that it was not. And indeed it was not. But that Zote post got people very salty on the Discord this morning. It was quite funny. And then when the leaks came out, I mean, they're not leaks. When the previews came out, literally, I had to, go back to work here and there, and there would be hundreds of messages that I could not catch up on. So I'm glad to see the community really digging into this. So that's what we're going to do tonight is dig into this. We're going to dig into the previews that we've gotten, and then we're going to go back again and look at all the new 9th stuff that we discussed yesterday on the podcast and the new stuff from today about terrain, and then apply the Custodes lens to that. So we're going to do that as we have been doing for the last couple of weeks, but we're also going to talk about these leaks, and we're going to do that first because quite literally it's burning a hole in my head. I usually start the stream at 9, but I was literally watching the second counter, so like 9 o'clock hits, I'm like going live. So it's like hardcore. I got just water tonight to keep me lubricated, a big mug of it, because I'm going to talk a lot. We're going to dive right into it. It's going to be a long episode, so sorry for that, but too bad. You can go to sleep if you need to, but we're going to have a good time tonight. Okay. First thing I gotta say is we're gonna talk about the previews today on the Warhammer community and on the stream. The stream was not particularly useful. They just said things that were on the Warhammer community page, so we're just talking about the community page. But first thing that annoys me a little bit is they use this picture with the world's ugliest model right there, that ridiculous dreadnought. just get rid of that. They could have just cut the picture off. They could have cut the picture off there. Yeah, so anyway. Okay. So we will be talking about a bunch of stuff. So we're going to talk about the leaks first. Then we're going to go back to talk about all of last week's 9th edition information as it applies to Custodes. Okay, so that's the rule tonight. Let's see who's in the chat tonight. We got C Farsight, of course, number 1. Shredder came on early. George G, welcome. Black Ice. Ultimaza. And that's all we got for now. People talking. So here we go. Somebody doesn't want me hating on the Vendread. I'm sorry. I just got to. And we'll be bringing 3 of those, wishing we could bring 4. I mean, if they allow them to take like las cannons, then yeah, we might. But the stupid assault cannons, just I'm sorry. Not when Aquilon now can shoot 48 heavy bolter shots. Eat that. More to come. So, okay. So the only thing that they really said on the stream that wasn't in the article was this they very quickly talked about the possibility of Dreadnought being a warlord or a character or getting a trait or something. That was it. It was literally like 5 seconds, and we've been talking about that all day, but we really don't know what that's about, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But it would be cool if Dreadnought could be a character just like in Marines, and get a trait. And so, yeah, and we're going to talk about the Telemon later when we go back to talk about some of the 9th edition stuff, because the Telemon wasn't specifically in the leaks today. Of course, the leaks do not include Forge World, although some of it interacts, as you'll see. I want to caution people about being too crazy about applying stuff to Forge World. We don't know how our Forge World stuff is going to change. One would hope, as Siegler said today, that GW would spend the most time polishing the Custodes part of the Forge World books, because that is basically like half our army, but it may not happen like that, and so things may change. But we'll try and keep it in perspective. Okay, so Custodes, all right. So the first thing they did was post this stratagem. Use the stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. A Custodes unit from your army more than 1 inch away from any enemy models can immediately perform a heroic intervention, as if it was a character. Must finish within 1 inch of or one or more enemy units, not necessarily the same enemy unit. So, first of all, this is a interesting strat. It's 1 CP. It probably means now you don't have to take Champion of the Imperium Warlord trait, which of course was a 12-inch aura of heroic intervention. Now there's an important difference. The Champions of the Imperium Warlord trait is infantry and bikes only, I believe, whereas this is just Adeptus Custodes unit. So you could heroic your Telemon with this. You can heroic a Caladius tank. You can heroic a lot of things. You can heroic anything. Okay, Adeptus Custodes unit, not infantry and bike, which I think is the warlord trait restriction. So there could be uses for that. I think it then doesn't mean you have to be sure that you keep your warlord within 12 inches of things, and when you don't, and it allows you to take an extra warlord trait, which apparently we're going to get a bunch different ones, new ones, of course. So this is probably good. It frees up that warlord trait for something else. And just if you don't need that CP for the strat, then you never use it. But if you see the opportunity to use it, you can, and you don't have to worry if it's infantry or bikes or if you're within range of the warlord or whatever. So this is actually good. So I do like that. So George G corrects me. It is including Dreadnoughts. Fine. So if you want to, you could warlord. You could heroic your Caladius tank. But in any case, the flexibility is still there that you just use it when you need it now, and you're not restricted to the warlord trait. So I think that's fine. So that's fine. Cool. They point out here, use this on your Allarus Custodians to make a crucial intervention. Well, you know, I was already doing that before. And of course, Allarus Custodians with their special pile-in rules can be a little bit janky, so that's cool. So I know people don't rate heroic intervention, and certainly this is not as good as 6-inch heroics like the Space Wolves can do. That would have been sweet. But it does allow shenanigans, because unless you get based, which generally people tell you not to do, you can move an extra 9 inches basically. So that's the one thing I'm always preaching about heroic intervention. That's why I love that warlord trait. Okay, next stratagem. Okay, 1 CP, superior fire patterns. Burn that into your mind. Combining advanced targeting cogitators and their own sublimely honed reactions, Custodians lay down a hail of fire worthy of an army many times their number. Well, that's some fitting fluff right there. That's a real fitting fluff. Worthy of an army many times their number. So, use this stratagem for a CP in your shooting phase when an infantry unit shoots that did not advance, which I hardly ever do. And until the end of that phase, models in that unit make double the number of attacks with rapid fire and pistol weapons. Okay. There we go. Oh, Mr. Funktastic has appeared too. So, this is awesome. So it's not shooting twice. So none of that jank about target this, target that, target. It's It is just double shots, which is amazing. This is an amazing strat for 1 CP. Random scrubs here too, everybody. It's basically just like Discord, but transferred to the live stream. This is amazing. This is amazing. And everybody's been talking about this all day. They obviously wrote this with our codex in mind, since we have mostly rapid fire and pistol weapons. And it is amazing. Let's list the ways this is amazing. Okay, a bomb unit of, let's say, 9 Guardians. That is 36 shots. Strength 4, -1, 2 damage. You're going to kill a lot of Marines with that. I think we were trying to work it out. It kills like 7 or 8 intercessors. So, yeah. So, that is nasty. Let's see. And even the pistols on the swords, they're pistols. So they have less range, but it's the same stat line. So that's amazing too. So you don't have to worry. As long as they're within rapid fire range, this is really kicking your firepower up. And even if you're not in rapid fire range, this might be a way of putting out more firepower at the 24-inch range. So you got to keep that in mind too. So it's not obviously as cool as doing it in rapid fire range, but it counts. Aquilon Terminators, a unit of 6, which of course is the max unit size, unfortunately. Unit of 6, normally rapid fire, putting out 4 shots at rapid fire range. Each guy putting 8 shots. 48 shots. Auto hitting most of the time, missing maybe once or twice. Strength 5, -1, 1 damage. Boom! 48 shots! Oh man. And remember, Custodes shooting is high quality shooting, okay? We rarely miss. With reroll 1s nearby, we rarely miss. And with a max of -1 modifier 2 these days, it's going to be like, that is like a whole unit of anything gone. Apparently, somebody mathed it today. That's 10 wounds off a knight. That is like a dead armature. Like, that is off the hook. Like, it's almost a full unit of boys. It would be if it was a bit unlucky. Morale. Like, that is any unit gone. That's just amazing. I think it's 8 or 9 intercessors. That is just amazing. The utility of that on a deep strike down, even at 9 inches, but like a 3-inch homer, they can reach a lot of stuff within 12, and then they're still charging. Like, that is just amazing. Amazing. I think that's reason enough to bring 6 Aquilon now. Forge World still not delivering, boys. Remember. Okay, that's amazing. Amazing. I don't think I talk about that anymore. I think that reason enough now to never use the Flamer. I know there was a controversy about Flamer or Lastrum Stormbolter before, but instantly the Flamer is no such thing now. Does not exist. Chop them off. So there's that. Okay, the next thing is Venatari. So of course, Venatari have pistol weapons with their little gun thing in the shield. Okay. 6 guys again, max unit size. Pistol 2. So now 6 guys is putting out 4 shots each. 24 shots. 24 shots. So the problem with the Venatari, before the problem was the 3-up save. But now everything's got -1, -2. That doesn't matter much anymore. Big deal. The problem was they didn't really do that much. If you took the spears, they didn't shoot that well. And they don't have a lot of attacks. And then if you took the pistols and stuff, you might kill a few things in shooting, but then you hit like wet noodles in combat. But now with 24 shots, exploding 6s, basically auto hitting, those guys are going to kill some stuff. Strength 6, I think, is -2, 2 damage. That is Marine death right there. That is Marine death right there. If they get the reroll 1 wound aura 2, that'd be sweet, but that is Marine death. The 2 damage makes up for the half shots of the Aquilon, but man, that's good. That is really good. You're gonna see, Centurions will go down with that. Like, that is really good. If there's some strat that increases exploding 6s to 5s or something, anyway, it's Forge World, so probably not. But man, that is really good. Makes 6 Venatari a nice little, not too expensive drop-down unit to do some pistoling. And I believe it's 18 inches or something. It's like an extra long pistol. So, man, that is really good. And I like that. if you bring a unit Aquilon and a unit of Venatari and they're dropping in at different times, and like that could be a pretty nifty little combo, and that's a lot of shooting. Okay, so that's great. Superior fire patterns, awesome. What else? So Allarus Terminators. Okay, so a hammer unit of, let's say, 7 Allarus Terminators. So now that is 28 of those bolter shots. So strength 4, -1, 2 damage. 28 of them, okay, which you can use with some CP to snipe characters. 1, 2, 3 characters maybe? That's just crazy, crazy good. 28 Custodes bolters. People are always surprised. You're like, okay, how much damage is that? Oh, that's 2 damage each. You're like, what? People forget that Custodes bolters are extra good, 2 damage each. And so these units putting out 28 shots that basically auto hit, so good. And then of course they have their grenade launchers, which do not get the double shots because they're not rapid fire pistol, but that's still they're probably going to be blast. We're going to talk about that later. And so that's like 721 like good quality chaff clearing grenade hits. So this Allarus unit is going to drop down. It's going to be like shooting over there, sniping characters, shooting grenades over there, denying Overwatch. Like a unit of Allarus is almost mandatory, I think. Like it's got so much utility now, and if they get even more strats than the stuff we've seen, they're gonna be so good in so many different ways. And then charging, and then character pile-in shenanigans, and like they've got a lot going for them right now. Like unless Wardens get something really, really good, like they're not gonna put up a fight. Yeah, so like, oh man, Allarus is gonna be so good. Man, we've turned into a crazy foot shooting army just with this one strat alone. Like, if you think about it. So man, it's hardcore. Okay. So we'll stop talking about superior fire patterns for now. If people come up with other combinations, those are the most cool ones that I've come up with, but let me know. But those are kind of the most cool ones. It doesn't apply to bikes, unfortunately, because it's infantry only. Imagine our bikes shooting 24 shots each. It's not even worth thinking about how many dice that would be for a unit of like 6 bikes. But they obviously thought about that, although they maybe did not think of the Venatari, to be honest. But maybe they did. I don't know. We got to give GW a little bit of credit. But 24 times, I can't even do that math. It's like 160. Like aggressors can go eat my dick. So yeah. So that would be crazy. Okay. Twitch chat's going a little bit crazy, trying to keep up, but okay. Cool. Okay. So next. Now it says, a Custodian Guard unit nobly defending an objective sees a sea of enemies bearing down on him. Show him what a Guardian Spear can do in shooting phase. Okay, sure. I mean, one guy is not really going to kill that many dudes, but still. Okay, the next thing they announced is Shield Hosts. So that is our, I was wrong. I thought it was going to be like Tides or Martial Disciplines versus like the chapters, but I guess we are going to get the Shield Host, which is the other possibility. So that makes sense. It's already in the books, like Shadow Keepers and Solar Watch and Emissaries and all that sort of thing. So, so Shield Hosts, of course, is going to be our kind of chapter tactics. Now, here's the controversy. It says here, really excitement development is to field your Custodes as 1 of 5 shield hosts. Each has a unique warlord trait, relic, and stratagem that reflects his background. Now, people are taking that as meaning we do not get shield host rule, like a chapter tactic, that we just get warlord trait, relic, strategy. I agree this is what the sentence says. You, this shield host, you get a warlord trait, relic, and stratagem. It does not say, though, that we don't get a trait. They don't have to leak that. They have not leaked that for every single book. Sometimes they leak stupid stuff. So I wouldn't lose hope. I wouldn't lose hope. Sometimes it may happen. The other thing is we don't know if it's detachment based, or maybe they're going to allow us to take this unit is this shield host, this unit is this shield host. Who knows? That is not spelled out here, so we don't know. We don't know. The other thing, yeah, and the other thing we don't know is whether we're actually getting any more army rules, either under the Talon's rule or some other rules, our usual rules, Spawn Protectors and all that stuff. I mean, those may have gotten changed as well. We don't know that. So who knows? It seems like we're probably not going to get like a chapter trait, but let's be optimistic. Okay, so for example, they point out Shadow Keepers, which are the dudes that look after the jail underneath the palace where they put all the horrible stuff. The Shadow Keepers get a warlord trait called the Lock Warden. The master of the Shadow Keepers is the Lock Warden, an especially stern guardian. He must be implacable in defense and unrelenting on the attack, a master jailer feared by all his charges. So when resolving an attack made by a character model with this warlord trait, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So -1 to hit naturally, which is cool. And then when resolving, and that's any attack, so that includes shooting. When resolving an attack made by this warlord against an enemy character, subtract 1 from their saving throw, includes invulns. Now, that is obviously good, but this is basically then on a character who is your warlord that you need to get stuck in, like Smash Captain style. Now, that may be a thing, looking further down when we come to talk about captain upgrades. That may be a thing. So who knows? But that's if you're going to run your character like that as a combat sort of, Smash Captain sort of thing, then, this is actually fairly good. I mean, reducing invuln saves, most characters will have like a 4-up invuln save. Reducing it to a 5-up makes a big deal. Reducing a 3-up to a 4-up makes a big deal. So, and then being -1 to hit back in return. So that just makes your character extra hard to hit and to kill, and makes you kill things easier. The number of times like a biker cap is fluffed in combat, it does happen. So as the chat is pointing out, if Telemon becomes a character and get a warlord trait, there you go. Okay. So that's cool. That's one thing. Put this on a shield captain, watch them go head to head. Okay, maybe if you prefer, Solar Watch get this relic. The Swift Silver Talon, a model with a Guardian Spear only. A model with this relic can shoot and charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back. So basically, all those rules don't apply for you. You can move, advance, fall back however you want, and still shoot and charge, which is cool for that one dude. And it has to have a Guardian Spear, so this immediately eliminates biker caps. So we're talking like Allarus captain or normal captain. And they have to have a spear. It could be a Vexilla, I guess. You could put it on a Vexilla. And so this spear is basically the same as a normal Guardian Spear, except it has Assault 4 instead of Rapid Fire 1. That's pretty good though. 4 shots. Strength 4 -1, 2 damage. That's pretty good. I mean, but and Assault, so it can advance and still shoot 4 shots, -1 to hit, and then can still charge. So, that's a pretty mobile thing. If you put it on your Vexilla, that guy can now move and advance, still participate in combat and shooting, and still be your homer guy. So, it's actually not too bad a thing. So there you go. Yeah. So, put it on your Vexilla, that's not too bad. If you had nothing else to put an extra relic on, you could put it on your Vexilla. But we still probably will need our 3+ invuln relics, unfortunately. So, if we get the stratagem where you can buy lots of extra relics, then it might be worth it. So, to keep that in mind, it's not as bad as it maybe initially looks. It will go nicely on a Vexilla. So, and it kind of plays nicely in how you want to keep advancing him all the time to get him into position for a homer. So, actually, it kind of synergizes well. There you go. Okay, so the Emissaries Imperatus, they are tasked with personally delivering messages for the Emperor. In-game, they are guided by his power. So this is a CP stratagem called the Emperor's Hand, used only by the Emissaries Custodians. It says here, use this stratagem in any phase when an Emissaries unit from your army, is chosen to shoot or fight with until the end of that phase. Resolve an attack made by a model in that unit. Ignore all negative hits, wounds, AP modifiers, and any benefits to the saving throw as a result of cover. So that's interesting because we got leaked today that there's light cover, which gives you +1 save for shooting, and then there's heavy cover, which gives you +1 save in combat. So this might actually be more useful than you would think. And then I don't know of much in the way of AP modifiers. I guess there's, who was it recently that, the AdMech got a rule that reduces the AP. So that is like directly counter to that. Negative to hit is fine. And then minus to wounds. So there's a lot of -1 wound to wound out there these days. So this is a counter to that. So this stratagem is not bad for a CP if you think about it. And it has the flexibility of being any unit, not just infantry or a bike. It can be, I guess it could be tanks. And it has the flexibility of being shooting or fighting. So, it's not bad. We're arguing today whether this how it interacts with like transhuman. I think transhuman just says you wound on a 4-up, so it's not really a modifier. So it probably needs FAQ, but it probably doesn't affect transhuman. But still, this is it's a decent strat. It's a decent strat. Because we've just seen things that modify AP. There's lots of -1 to wound out there. Obviously, there's -1 to hit. And there's going to be a lot more cover in this game if today's 40k 9th edition preview was any indication. So this is a decent strat for a CP. Okay, now we're going to talk about shield captains. Okay, so now we get, so just like Marines got the CP strat to upgrade somebody to a what do you call it? Chapter Master. We get to upgrade a shield captain to a captain commander. And the captain commander, basically for a single CP, you can then give him a captain commander trait. So captain commander trait. So they leaked a couple. So one is Indomitable Constitution, add 2 wounds. So basically you're making a shield captain 9 wounds now. That is just under the amount by which you could become targetable. That's good. I mean, I think G-Man has 9 wounds, 3 up in Vuln, so T6. So basically, you've turned your shield captain into G-Man, and that's good. I mean, it makes him less one-shottable by like a couple of smites. It protects him from a lot of stuff that's extra 2 wounds. How many times have you been playing and you got a shield captain on bike left with 1 wound, end up surviving all sorts of shit at the end of the game and doing stuff for you? Now imagine that was 3 wounds and he could last 3 times longer. So don't underestimate 2 wounds extra on a T6 3-up invuln model with 2-up, 3-up is good. Those 2 wounds will last you for a while. And let's say you put the 5-up Feel No Pain Warlord trait on him. Now he is quite hard to kill. 2-up, 3-up, 9 wounds, 5-up Feel No Pain. And then there's some stuff here that makes you -1 to hit and stuff like that. So, like, it's pretty good. That is definitely something cool. It makes your... if you have a foot captain, obviously it makes them like 7 wounds. So, that's pretty good too. So, yeah. And then, of course, if you want to spend, now that you have so much CP, if you want to spend Victor of the Hunger Games on him, I know it's called Blood Games, I'm calling it Hunger Games, then now he can re-roll a save. So he just becomes that much harder to kill. So, yeah. If you really want to make a Smash Captain that then has this... this Warlord trait, so if you want a Super Smash Biker Captain that moves 14 inches, now that also gets -1 to hit and -1 to opponent's invuln and armor save, combined with a 5-up Feel No Pain, like, you can make a Smash Bike Captain. And that might be something I need to try. So, that's cool. The other trait that he has is Master of Melee. So while this model is within 1 inch of any enemy unit that contains 6 or more models, increase attacks by 2. So that's cool. So, that's fine. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but 2 extra attacks gives you 7 attacks. And it says you have to be within an enemy unit to contain 6 models, but you don't have to attack that unit. You can attack whoever you want. with your extra attacks. So there you go. There you go. Take the Master of Melee and the Veil Blade. I can't remember what the Veil Blade does. Anyway, so there you go. So that's pretty. It's decent, and I think there will be other traits. Obviously, these are just 2. There's going to probably be a list of like 6 to 9 of them or something like that. So that is very sweet. I like it. I like that they didn't just give us 1 CP to give this guy 1 extra wound and a 9-inch aura or something. So it's actually, I feel like it's cooler than the Chapter Master stratagem for Space Marines. Okay. So George G's coming up with some nasty combos. There's a Veiled Blade or something apparently. +2 attacks when on an objective. +2 attacks when within. Well, you know what? Considering we got freaking Ragnar doing like 40 attacks and we have that stupid Raven Guard guy who hit me with 24 attacks, I don't feel bad about stacking attacks on a shield captain. Okay, those people can go, go F themselves. Just eat it, people. Yeah, eat it. Eat the shield captain right down your face. Yeah. Oh, you want to kill me? I'm sorry. I'm T6, 9 wounds, 2 up, 3 up, 5 up, feel no pain. Go on then. Try and kill me. But yeah. So, okay. So that is basically the Custodes leaks, which was pretty cool. So what we're going to do is now talk about Sisters. So, Sisters of Silence. So, it is, so somebody said, yeah, confirmed in the picture that is a rhino, but that is not the same light fixture that was on the rhino in that picture. Anyway. Okay, so Sisters of Silence, these babies. Okay, so just for comparison, by the way. So here's my Aquilon, who's going to be shooting 8 shots. And here's my Sister of Silence. Look how small this person is. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Sisters of Silence, I just found my Sisters of Silence that I had somewhere in a box. I have 5 of them with flamers. And I think these were actually painted by Logan. He borrowed them for like CanHammer team like a few years ago. So they're kind of bronzy. Anyway, so I have 5 of these guys already. And of course, I have them up here. And then here's my gold rhino, which is up there. So there you go. So I have 5 sisters and a rhino ready to go. And Dan's grabbing me a few more. So, sisters. Okay. So it says, thanks to the Talons of the Emperor rule, capitalized, you can now run Sisters of Silence into any Adeptus Custodes army. You just add them in, blah. There wasn't any more detail than that. We don't know what the Talons of the Emperor rule says, but we're assuming it just means you can take a unit at a time and just add them in, and that's it. They just add in. It's probably going to also specify that they don't get the other Custodes rules, and that you keep both keywords and you gain the Talons keyword, and maybe there's going to be some rules or stratagems triggered off of the Talons keyword. Who knows? But basically, there's a rule that we're getting called Talons of the Emperor, and it will allow us to take sisters. If you are somebody else and you want to soup in sisters, you have to take the Null Maidens Vanguard, which is basically 3 units of sisters with no HQ. And so that confirms that these guys are going to be elites because it's a Vanguard. And of course, if you do that, you're probably going to have to pay your CP. Probably 1 CP or 2 CP, however much Vanguards are going to cost. So, and it's not going to have your Warlord in it, so you're going to have to pay CP to soup in sisters. So, I think the only reasonable way of taking sisters will be as Custodes. And then they make a jibe against, put them in the Space Wolves army to recreate the burning of Prospero if Rade is out there with his usual Magnus bullshit. Okay. Psychic Abomination. So they have the same rule, Psychic Abomination, so they can't be targeted by psychic powers or affected by psychic powers. Deny and Psychic Cast are all -1 within 18 inches, and that stacks up to -4. So that's fine. I tell you what, though, most people who play Psychic Heavy armies, so, Eldar, most people who play those armies and are good players are quite good at staying out of 18-inch range. So, people, it may be a nice form of error denial, actually, but you're going to have to put your girls in harm's way to make that effective. So 18 inches is the magic number, as usual. Okay, here we go. Empiric Severance. 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase. When an enemy psyker manifests a psychic power within 18 inches again of a Sister Silence infantry unit. So having them inside the Rhino not going to help you. And after any denied which attempt is made. So any attempt, meaning you don't have to attempt. If you had made one, you would wait till after the attempt. So not only can you, so roll a d6 on a 3+, that power is done. So not only can you 3+ a power out of existence, which is amazing, because up to now, the whole game has only ever seen 4+, like Black Templars and stuff like that. You can 3-up it now, which is good with a reroll that's very reliable. But is after a deny attempt. Now, we don't really have native ways of denying, but if you did, you would deny it, and then if you don't get to deny it, now you can nullify it. So that's pretty good for a CP. So the trick really will be the 18-inch range. Yeah, somebody mentioned line of sight, so this does nothing that says here to do with line of sight. So you can, as long as it's within 18-inch range and it's manifest, you can deny. You can use the strat. So that's great. I think that's really good. So that combined with the other Custodes stratagem now gives us 2 innate deny or negate stratagems. We have a Warlord trait that allows you to deny with a +1. So we have some defense. And if your opponent is not good enough to stay out of 18-inch range, they're going to get their minuses to cast as well. So let's look at the next stratagem. So the next stratagem has to do with weapon options. So 1 or 2 CP if you have a Witch Seeker unit from your army, which I believe Witch Seekers are the Flamer girls. For 1 CP if it's 5 models, up to 5 models, or 2 CP if it's 6 or more models. Until the end of the phase in the shooting phase, the Flamers automatically will make 4 attacks. 4 to 6. So you roll your d6, and anything less than a 4 counts as a 4. So let's say a unit of 10 girls with Flamers, that's going to be a minimum of 40 Flamer shots, up to a maximum of 60 Flamer shots. That's pretty good. Now, if I remember correctly, these are just normal Flamers. So 4, 0, 1 damage, 8-inch range. So that really is kind of sucky. But still, I mean, people saw the effectiveness of a whole bunch of hand Flamers in GSC in terms of chaff clearing. So this could have its uses. However, since we now have 48 Aquilon shots and 28 bolter shots and a bajillion other shots, I don't feel like we need a Flamer Bomb. I was hot on that to start with, but I don't feel like we need that. And 2 CP just to shoot a bunch of 0 AP Flamers is not that impressive. Especially with all the cover and stuff we expect in the game. It doesn't ignore cover or anything like Flamers used to do in 7th. So I think that's probably not good enough to warrant bringing like a big Sisters unit with Flames. So then the question is, like, and obviously this is not all the stuff that Sisters are getting. Hopefully they don't get too much more, but like, do we bring Sisters now? And that is the big question, right, that everybody's thinking about. Do we bring Sisters of Silence? I think that you should bring at least some Sisters of Silence. If for nothing else, because it's basically free, they're super cheap, they can do actions for you, and they have this crazy anti-psyker. They can block smites if they're in front of you because they can't be targeted. They can give you extra minuses to roll, and then the 3+ deny strat. I think if Grey Knights remains a thing, if the Eldar is still a thing, which they almost certainly will be, I mean, I think you have to play some Sisters. And if you play an army that does not have any psychic power, then they're going to be your action guys. They're going to be your backfield holders. They'll be your action people. And in a game now without Killmore, I think it's okay to bring a bunch of T3 girls. I think in the old ITC with Killmore, bringing T3 girls was not good. But now in a game where there's no more kill more sort of balance, where we really need to deny kills hardcore like that, I think bringing at least a unit of sisters is a good idea. People have been throwing out the idea of bringing a Leia as your sister. The problem with that is that it's one model that has character protection, but she has to be up in the front. You have to bring her and Christopher walking together. And so far, although hopefully it will be changed, it's 366 points. So as of right now, I wouldn't. But yeah, I think it is worth bringing a unit of sisters. Yes, custodian guards can do the action rolls well, but custodian guards can now shoot like 24 shots. They can now hit really, like they hit hard. Like maybe you don't want them doing nothing and doing an action. Maybe you want these 65 point losers doing nothing, doing an action for you, right? And really, like an average list I write will easily have 65 points left over, which I just fill with Misericordia. So I'll take one of these units of girls, no problem. If you really want, you could spend the whatever 90 points on a Rhino and make them a little bit safer, and they can have a lot more mobility that way. Of course, apparently now you can spend a CP and deep strike them in where you want too. So, and that might be a thing of deep striking them in, and then you cause your opponent some psychic problems for a turn. So, you know, I think there is definitely use for them in our army now, and we need to see the rest of our rules. But I think if you take them nothing else except one or two units as action people, objective holders, and the occasional psychic use, I think that's probably worth it. Their points are small enough to not make a big deal to our army. There you go. Sisters. We will see what else they get. Oh, I hadn't showed people, obviously, my bad boys coming out. I need to get some pistols, unfortunately. I lost them, so I don't know where they are. I might end up just buying 6 more Venatari, then I have 6 of both, but we'll see. Before I mangle these babies, though, because it took me a long time to paint these guys, I'm going to wait to see the rules. 4-drawer rules. Okay. All right. And then the last part of the leak was on assassins, and basically they still suck. Okay. So that is the leaks from today. Let me know what you think. I mean, basically everybody who's on right now, I already know what they think because we've been talking about it all day. But yeah, so there we go. Let's talk about the other 9th stuff that we hadn't talked about with Custodes. Now, I can't perfectly remember where we left off. Probably June 3rd, the CP thing. Yeah, we can start with that. So basically, CP. So the way CP works now is it's going to be good for us. And that's why our pictures of Custodes are like the poster boys of 9th edition right now with holding the CP cakes and stuff like that. So obviously we're going to start with 12 CPs. We're going to get 1 every turn. We still have Allarus if you're going to take him. And so we have a lot of CP now. And more importantly, in that 4th turn, 5th turn, 6 turns, if there are 6 turns, we now have a CP that we really need for a cheeky interrupt or a Tanglefoot, last minute Tanglefoot, or so it's really nice to have that CP at the beginning of the turn for us to keep feeding that when we're out of CP. So I think the new CP stuff is obviously going to be good for us. Now, as you can see, we got a lot more shit to spend CP on. So it may not end up functionally being that much more CP for us to use on a turn by turn, but it will mean that the stuff that we did spend, we're going to get stuff for it. So I think it's going to be great for us, and that's why the Custodes is like the poster boy of the CP change. In terms of detachments, the core detachments, if your warlord is in your core detachment and the core detachment is either a battalion, brigade, or patrol, you get that detachment for free. Otherwise, it's 3 CPs for a battalion. So I think we may end up running probably a patrol. I mean, we're never going to run a brigade. If you want to run a battalion, you're going to have to bring 3 guardian units. And sisters don't sound like they're troops. So probably you're either running the Guardian Battalion again, or you're going to run a patrol. So what I'm going to do is probably run a patrol. I'm going to run a big Guardian bomb, and then I'm going to run all the other fun stuff that now we can do and not have to worry about running too many Guardian units, and then maybe throw in a couple of these guys for actions and things. So that's kind of the list that's kind of floating in my head right now. So that's looking all very good. It is really good news for us, the CP thing. I think I might have talked about that last week, but I can't remember now. Okay. The second thing was that events have all confirmed, the big events anyway, so likely the small events will follow suit, that they will be using 4x5 tables and will be using the new missions at 2,000 points. And that's all been confirmed. So we're talking about all the FLG run events. We're talking about Nova, Adepticon, LGT, and our Canadian events will be the same. So we might as well start playing on those for 44x5 or whatever. I personally just leave it at 48 because I'm not taking 2 inches off each end. That's like stupid. And you just start working on that. And as we found out today, terrain. So I think that's take it to the bank. All the events are going to be. Oh, and even ETC is running that. So that's a big deal. So take it to the bank. That has been confirmed. Okay. We're going to skip those stuff for now. We'll come back to that. So tanks, monsters, and dreads. Okay, so small table size, obviously, I think it helps and hinders us. I think I used to love long deployment hammer and anvil because it allows me time to hide before my opponent hits me for a couple of turns. But that was kind of hide style ITC. I think we may be allowed to play a different style of game now. And actually, I think that the new missions, according to Stu Black, are going to encourage people not to hide like that. So if we get a few things that make us a bit tougher, we obviously have a lot more offense already just by the strats that were just revealed. We may be able to play a different type of game. And so actually that probably helps us that we don't need to move as far. So I think generally the small board size helps us. So there you go. Okay, so tanks. Let's see what the stream is talking about. Patrols only have 2 slots per unit type. Troops are 3 slots max. I don't think patrol will work. You might not even need it. 1 large unit, Allarus. Patrol, bringing more fast attack. Aquilon, heavy support, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Tanks, monsters, and dreadnoughts. Lots of changes with monsters. So as we talked about last night, there's an engagement range, which is just being locked in combat 1 inch. -1 to hit penalty for infantry only. That's not going to affect any of our guys, but the interesting thing, though, is that heavy penalty no longer applies to bikes, no longer applies to dreadnoughts. Those are the big things. Arcalides were already machine spirit. So that's huge. Huge. The Telemon not getting a -1 to hit for moving is huge. Combine that with a smaller table. It's a pretty mobile dreadnought already. It moves like 8 inches. And its natural resilience. And now its ability to shoot into combat because it's not blast weapons. The Telemon, I think, is making a slight comeback. I think it's definitely worth trying. It's still very expensive. But if you're stuck in combat with the Telemon, you can double fire the Spiculus launcher into combat. You can use flamers or punch your way out and then still shoot your big guns at further targets. So I think it's gonna be okay. I've even been toying with the idea of 1 fist, 1 gun, because then that gives you the stronger combat attack as well as still the shooting ability. So we'll see. But I think the Telemon has a little bit of new lease on life. Our other dreads are not so affected by it because they're not so shooty. I think they're going to be basically the same as they were before, but the Telemon has a big effect, and because it has these 2 very extremely different profiles of double shooting or double punchy. And then everybody, of course, in the chat right now is dreaming about Warlord traits on the Telemon. Anyway. And then, of course, it is, T8, 16 wounds, 2 up, 4 up, so it's pretty hard to kill. So, I think Telemon has a little bit of play there. We'll see what happens in the book. But that no heavy penalty is a huge deal for the Telemon. It's also a huge deal for bikes. Bike captains running salvo now, not -1 to hit. So salvos hitting on 2s is way better than salvos hitting on 3s. People have we've been toying with the idea of running a whole unit of bikes with salvo launchers. I think it just gets too expensive and too dedicated to one thing. But maybe 1 or 2 salvos in a unit may be good. One thing's for sure, for all that I've seen, we are going to need anti-vehicle techniques, and so salvo launchers may be good. However, 48 Aquilon shots kills a rhino no problem. Takes 10 wounds off a knight. You might not need salvo launchers after all. But still, bikes are not infantry, so they don't suffer heavy. The Laz Pulsar on the Agamatis just got better, hitting on 2s, but those stupid things are still 120 points, so I don't think that makes them that much better. So there you go. So the one thing that people were worried about is that you charge a Lemon Rus and it's just going to pound you in the face with the Demolisher or the Battle Cannon anyway, so bad touching was not going to help you. Well, I think now all those weapons are going to be blast, and blast weapons cannot shoot into combat. So I think that's okay, and we just have to survive the sponsons, and that's not a big deal. So actually for us, we're going to be hitting those tanks with pretty tough units. We don't need to worry about eating battle cannons to the face, relic cannons to the face. So bad touch still a thing for us. It's still going to be good. Keep on touching. So there you go. So the blasting actually has kind of helped us. Now us with a 6-man unit now, we take, let's say, 3 minimum shots. Well, on a D6 weapon, the average was like 3 or 4.5 anyway. If the min 3 makes it maybe 4. So it's not such a huge deal to us to be in that 6 model range, and we're never getting 11 plus in a unit. So I don't think the blasting affects us too much in terms of us eating it, and it definitely helps us bad touch things in terms of us touching things. So if we can still attack a knight and not eat a battle cannon to the face. However, the Gatler in combat is gonna hurt. Yes. Okay, so yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot flamers in combat." I'm like, "Fine, shoot your AP0 flamers. I don't care." Okay, units are engaged, still shooting combat. Blah blah blah. So, and I think yeah. So some changes with terrain rules, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, line of sight is going to be more challenging to get, apparently, and that becomes more obvious with the terrain rules, and castling will be less likely to win games. So I think we got to change the way we play a little bit. We'll see as we play the missions, and line of sight getting more challenging actually only helps us rather than hinders us. And I think infantry is going to be king, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, then blast weapons. So if we're looking at what weapons we have that are blast, so it's basically variable number of hits weapons. So ballistic grenade launchers, and like the big guns on like the Ares or the Orion, like those D3 shots or whatever. Man, that sucks. That should be 3 shots. But anyway, so those I guess would be blast. We don't really have grenades to throw. We don't really have any other blast weapons. So I don't think the blast change overall really will make that big a difference for us. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Okay. Blah, 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 blast, 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 blast. So all our things that have the power of the machine spirit ability will be getting some other ability in the future that will become something else. So it'll be interesting. Okay. All right, what's going on, chat? You shoot it, charge what comes out. Also left to shoot and melee on your turn, which is fine if you have a lot of attacks. If you're charging a knight, you better kill it dead. Yes, they can already fall back and charge and all that, so knights are not changing much. Knights have a lot of blast guns. Yeah, the Gatler is probably going to be able to shoot because that's not a variable shot weapon. Thermal and battle cannons are blast, yes. Side grenades. Side grenades, yes! Yes! Oh, there's Rade. There's Rade. He must have liked the sisters combining with Space Wolves recreating the burning of Prospero jab on the Warhammer community page today. Oh yeah, there you go, Rade. Right for you. Okay. Terrain. So today on the stream they leaked terrain. There's a lot we still don't know about terrain. So people gotta lower their salt levels a little bit. And they basically told us that terrain will come in 4 types. There's going to be hills, which basically do nothing. It's just part of the battlefield. There's going to be obstacle types, which will offer cover to infantry, beasts, and swarm if it's between the firer and the unit. There's going to be area terrain, which includes things like ruins, and there's going to be buildings, which is like actual buildings. So each piece of terrain will have a trait, and so there's going to be a list of, runes is this type of terrain and has these traits. But in more open styles of play, it sounds like you can decide what terrain has what traits with your opponent in this magical world where people agree on these things. Anyway, probably what's going to be is that when you go to a tournament, hopefully you should insist that your TOs define what terrain is going to be what type and what traits, and everybody plays like that. So it would be nice if each table had like a little cheat sheet and says, okay, these are all runes, these are all blah, and so everybody knows what is what and what is what and what rules things have. Luckily it's not going as far as AOS where we have to roll those stupid dice and remember what the terrains do. So I'm glad they didn't go full on AOS with the terrain. And it looks like they're just going back a little bit to 7th with kind of rules for terrain, which is fine. That's what we wanted. Okay, so they gave us some examples of some of these traits, and they're not all of them. So light cover, +1 save against shooting. So fine, just like cover now. Heavy cover, +1 save against melee, unless that unit charged you. That's interesting, but didn't say anything about shooting. So, and it also said that terrain can have multiple traits. So you could be light cover and heavy cover. So there you go. Something called scalable, which probably means you can go up it. Don't know what that means. Breachable. Don't know what that means. Unstable. Don't know what that means. And then obscuring. So this is the one that's been causing a lot of controversy. Obscuring. Let me see if I can actually pull up the rule instead of just paraphrasing. Here we go. Obscuring. Take cover. Okay, if this terrain feature is at least 5 inches in height, and so, that's like that tall. It's not hard to be over 5 inches, to be perfectly honest. I don't have a tape measure within easy reach. Okay, so 5 inches. Can't really see because of the glare. 5 inches. So an Aquilon Terminator is almost 3 inches tall. So there you go. It's not hard to reach a terrain height of 5 inches. If a model terrain feature is at least 5 inches in height, then models cannot see through or over this terrain feature. This means that one model is not visible to another if you cannot draw a straight line 1 millimeter in thickness between them without it passing through or over any part of this terrain feature. So that's going to be when you have ruins that have irregular borders. So if the line goes through here, is that through or over? I mean, it's just this little bit sticking out. You're going to have to define that with your opponent beforehand. Whether you're playing a regular border or straight line, or, I mean, you kind of had to do that now for the first floor rule, but you better define that beforehand. Because, look, not all terrain is made of straight lines. So, if this line cannot passes through the terrain feature at any point, then it is obscured. Okay? You cannot see that model. Okay? So basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so you can't, like, okay, so our bikes, okay, if a little, oh, my shield captain lost his spear. Here it is. So I think the best example and thing we struggle with is shield bikes. So this business here, okay? So this is no longer visible. Okay? No argument now. You don't have to turn your spears up and down. This terrain feature is over 5 millimeters in height, and all you can see is the thing sticking out, and you cannot draw a line through it without going through the terrain, you cannot see it. Okay, so no longer we have to argue about little bits sticking out, things like that. Okay, that's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to simplify a little bit of the true line of sight. Okay, it says the height of the terrain feature is measured from the highest point on that terrain feature. Okay, so fine. Models that are on or within. So keep in mind, so if this ruin, let's say, for some reason, does not have the obscuring trait, then it's no holds barred. Okay? So it has to be a terrain piece with obscuring trait. Okay? Okay, the height of a terrain. Models that are on or within this terrain feature can be seen and targeted normally. So that's a very unclear sentence. I think what they're trying to say is that if you have a unit in the terrain and you're shooting a unit in the terrain, then there's no problem there. Okay? I think that's what they're trying to say, but it's a very badly written sentence. They're using too many past participles. Okay, so yeah. So I think that's fine. Then it says aircraft you can see regardless. You cannot be obscured. An aircraft cannot be obscured by terrain. Most of the time it can't be obscured anyway. Okay, and then models with 18 wounds or more, so knights. And they are visible and can be targeted even if this terrain feature is in between it and the firing model. So if you have a rune like this, okay, and you have a knight standing behind it, and it would otherwise be obscured, like by sight-wise, like a tall rune like this, it is not. You can shoot it. Yeah, that needs to be clarified. Like, that's a little bit badly written. But anyway, the intention is that you cannot hide knights behind obscuring terrain. That's the intention, okay? So there you go. And then note that the reverse is not true. So that model that's like they need to just write that out. But anyway. Okay, and I'm not going to talk too much about that, but the intention is what they're trying to do. Okay. So it says, an important note that even though obscuring terrain blocks line of sight from one side to the other, a unit that's inside the terrain can still be freely targeted, although they receive the benefit of cover if the terrain also has light cover trait and can fire in return. However, the days of drawing line of sight through a gap in the wall and 3 consecutive windows to a unit on the opposite side of a huge building are over. So that is a clear statement of their intent there, and hopefully in the rulebook they're going to give pictures and examples, which is something that they said they were going to do in this edition. So hopefully we're gonna know. Okay. If this makes knights very much less playable, then good riddance. That's what I say to that. Okay, so then it goes on to outline some basic terrain pieces that everybody has. So ruins. A ruin is area terrain. It has the traits of scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible, which we don't know what that is, and obscuring. Okay, armor containers are obstacles, so they can, so they give you light cover, scalable, and exposed position, which we don't know what that is. So there we go. And then they go on and give examples. So this is their 4 by. Unfortunately, they made them 44 by 60 tables, which maybe as a typo should be 50. But this is what they would consider, you know, a good amount of terrain, which is kind of what I usually try and play with. A couple of good line of sight blockers and then some other terrain. Whereas the other one they showed was not. So there we go. So lots of statements of intent. Okay. So I think this is all fine. I think good terrain rules is only going to benefit us. And I think infantry is going to be king. And I think hiding jet bikes become easier if you're playing jet bikes. And hiding your Telemon and your Caladius tanks. So I think it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go back and talk about these quote-unquote leaks. Okay. So monster vehicle armies are going to be very good. So bring anti-monster, anti-vehicle firepower. I think we have that. I think that's the other thing that Aquilon gives us is, of course, the Strength 10 Power Fists. So I think that's going to be nice. Point hikes are not going to be much, but some of the good units will be rebalanced. So Centurions are going up. So that's fine. They're way too cheap anyway. And hopefully, there's a lot of debate about how much our units are going to be going up. They'll probably go up a little bit. Even if they go up, 2 or 3 points, I actually don't think that really affects us very much because we have such small number of models. So individual point hikes affect you less. So we'll see. There's nothing really you can do about that. No point spending too much time lamenting it. Most of the core detachments are unchanged, maybe small changes. Supreme Command is very different. So yeah, I don't see us really spending a lot of CP on extra detachments, to be honest. So I'm not sure that these really make much difference to us. We don't have a lot of transports. So, the detachment changes are fine. I don't think it's going to affect us that much either way. Deployment of hordes. Yep. I think the meta will go big vehicles, Tyrannid monsters, Riptides. It probably is going to be very vehicle monster heavy for at least the first few months until people figure out that you can still kill these things pretty easily, and then they'll start to disappear. But I think everybody will be wanting to trial the new rules for vehicles and monsters. You're going to see a lot of vehicles around for a while. You're going to see Lim and Rust spam tons. You're going to see Nidzilla might be making a comeback. All the new Necron monsters, so you're going to see that stuff. Gonna need guys to do actions and gonna need OBSEC. So for sure. So our whole army is OBSEC. Great. And as I say, actions are going to be important. That leaked mission already showed that you're going to need to get action VPs. And so that's where I think the sisters might help us. So good. And we're definitely ready with the OBSEC. There's going to be more actions coming out. And they're going to keep publishing actions and new mission packs, which will change the secondaries and all that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be good if we could get a new mission pack every 6 to 9 months. Is going to keep things fresh rather than playing the same things for a year. So I think that's going to be cool. He doesn't feel that you can game your army to deny secondaries. So I think that hopefully in 4 or 5 weeks, that's going to be a thing of the past, that we need to play deny, that we need to play no, don't give up kills or kill more. I think it'll be a much more open and fluid way of playing, hopefully, and we can start having some fun. I think as long as we can get a little bit tougher, then I think we're going to be able to have a more open style of play. This is what I really hope for, because castling and denying is not really fun. So spamming, 40 Storm Shields shouldn't be necessary to play this game. So hopefully all of these things are going to add up to a much more enjoyable play style for us. Okay. Certain covers will give +1, and then he talked about certain covers. So we now know a little bit more about other forms of covers, so that's fine. Certain covers. Necrons are getting a lot of monsters. So those new models, the little walker dude, like the Satans, probably all those are probably monsters. Maybe even those Scorpex are monsters. And probably, what's his name? The Silent King will probably be a monster, maybe? I don't know. But so they're going to have lots of different ways to play, which is cool. It'd be nice to see some Necrons back. And yeah. Infantry keyword will be key for interacting with terrain in terms of moving in and out and getting bonuses from terrain. It's going to be a big deal. Foot sloggers will be more powerful. Monsters, vehicles, bikes will still have to move around terrain. So I think with all the things we've seen, foot list is the way to go. With so much cover around, you may have trouble getting firing lines even for a mech list, although our tanks are very mobile. So we'll see, but I think a foot list is going to be great. And if we're using Venatari, fly infantry is going to be king, I think. So as they always have been, fly infantry has been always very good. So that will continue to play into our strengths, I think. Transhuman, yeah, I don't think transhuman helps us that much. Only against stronger firepower, but not against all the high volume, low firepower. So Clopfoot, welcome Clopfoot. So you think Custodes will need to ally in cheap troops to perform actions? No, because we have sisters. So I wouldn't pay CP to bring in a loyal 32. I would just pay 50 points and bring in a bunch of sisters for free. So definitely not. Obviously, our guardians are not cheap troops, but if you're gonna play a battalion, then you have them anyway. So I think we'll have to see how it goes. But we have some cheap troops, not troop slots, but we have cheap action units. We don't really need the troop slot per se. So those are our options. Okay. If Forge World was open today, what would you order? I would get my 6 new Venatari, so I have the pistols, probably. And I might get another unit of Aquilons. But I think 6 is probably fine. I think spamming Aquilons will have some use, just like they did in 8th edition, but I think it will be much better to have a variety of units, so you're much more flexible rather than just playing Aquilon. So I would probably just buy some more Venatari, because I must have thrown those pistols away, and that was stupid. So anyway. Okay. Small things have changed about assaulting and falling back. People who are good at moving will be successful. Lots of things have changed in assault armies and new strategies. So I think there may be some changes to how movement, paladins, consolidates, and things like that happen in the assault phase. And so we're going to have to learn that and be good at it, because that's what our army does. Although it seemed to be getting quite a lot of shooting. So we'll see. But that's interesting insight there, that those things are kind of changing. Okay. The meta will be more wide open. Many armies are going to be good. Many armies will have multiple ways of playing. Top picks include Sisters with Space Wolves and AdMech. We know AdMech is good. They got a lot of good rules. But I think it's encouraging that there's going to be the Wild West for a while. This happened when 8th came out. It was a Wild West. Nobody knew what was good or bad. And it was pretty fun for a while, where everything was just kind of like, I don't know what this does. Let's see what it does. So that was pretty fun. And so I think, if nothing else, you can look forward to just things being thrown up in the air for a while. And especially now with no real tournaments, probably till October, November at the earliest, it's going to be, who knows what's going to be good. Can you still tri-point models? Yes. But there may be something you can do about that, quote unquote, and that's it. So, yeah. So trapping units still seems like it's going to be a thing. There are changes to fallback and maybe some other core stratagems that affect falling back. So we'll see. We'll have to wait. But, yeah. Okay. Centurions are going to go up in points. Yes. Ignoring AP is so good, especially in the new edition. No more specifics than that. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We don't have anything as of yet with that ability. There will be a day 1 FAQ to insta-fix old rules, so we already kind of assumed that there's going to be a bunch of rules that no longer work or apply, and they're going to have to be insta-fixed. And then there's going to be appendixes with things like the blast chart and all that sort of stuff. So Necron new models will give them new ways to play. Okay, that is basically it. Okay, so I hope that's exciting for people. I find it super exciting. I think it's always great to get things changed up. We can look at everything fresh and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to take questions in the chat. Type it in. I'm going to go to the Discord while we're waiting. Okay. How much will your wallet hate me once Forge World reopens? Probably a lot. We don't have any indication when it's going to open, though, which is annoying. Question on all our minds. How much trouble am I going to be in? Bulwark Gym. Yep. Okay. If Vanguard costs, for example, 3 CP, would you still keep Battalion or just run Outrider, Vanguard, Spearhead? Well, I think you try in one run of the core detachments because you get that detachment for free. And then you run the other ones if you need it. I think if it's going to be 1 CP to run these more specialized detachments, that's no problem. I suspect they're going to be more, like 2 CP, because I think they want to cut down on like spam like that. We'll see. We don't know, but it really depends on how much those detachments cost, how much souping is going to cost. Like, I think it really depends on the CP cost. It's hard to say. Our biggest bottleneck usually is elite slot because we have Vexilla, one or two of them, and then Aquilons, Allarus, all those guys are elite. Wardens, they're all elite, right? So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Mike Wolf, assuming 20% increase across the board, we'd be at 1,600 points in 8th for a 2K game. I don't think there's any way you can make the assumption that everything is going up 20%. You can't. So I'll defer that question until we know what our points are. I don't think we're going to go up 20%. There's no reason to raise Custodes 20%. We do not contribute to hordes or spammy armies. We don't contribute to any of the problems that they wanted to cut down on by increasing people's points. So I don't see why we would go up. We're already overpriced point-wise. So hopefully they have that insight. Dread Mob, I'll run it at least once. Okay. What is our must-have unit? That's a great question. I think we got multiple now, which is the best place to be. I think if we have to actually think about what we really want to bring in, sacrifice other units, I think that is a great position to be in. That is the ultimate position to be in when you have so many good things that you don't know what to take. So I think that's great. What do we have to take? I don't know. We haven't seen our book yet. We just have leaks. As of right now, I'd say you got to take some Aquilon Terminators for that shooting. I would say Venatari almost have to take just even a smaller unit just for fly infantry and like potentially double shooting those pistols. I think a unit of Allarus, which I was already built a whole freaking list around, has gotten better with the stuff we've seen today. So I think those are all great units right now. Shield Captain, like you gotta take a Shield Captain, right? Like as we discussed, you can make a Smash Biker Captain. So I mean, it's hard to answer that question because it's actually lots of things are looking really good. Okay. So that is it. Questions on the chat. Let's see. Do you think a single patrol is going to be short on elite slots? I can't remember how many slots you get in a patrol. I think it's 2. I think it's probably 2. So, but keep in mind that they're changing, right? The battalion changed a little bit. The brigade changed a little bit. So, the patrol might change. So we don't know. That's not being leaked, and we don't know. We just don't know. So it could be changed. There's 6 elites in the battalion. So, that's plenty of elite slots. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll just have to see what the detachments are. It'll be really annoying for like 1 elite short. But then we'll see what the Scream command is. I don't know, maybe that helps us out. I don't know. Okay. Don't see us going up in points. I think so. It has 2 elite slots. Guys, I have something to tell you. Snoop, I'm a DG Eldar 1K Suns player. Clade is still good. I think so. It didn't get any worse. I mean, it might go up in points. And it's just not, it's being strength 7, it's okay at killing vehicles, but I don't think it really changed very much. Nothing we saw today impacts it. I think its ability to shoot into combat obviously helps it, and it can still fly out and shoot because it's got that, it's fly. So, I think that helped it a little bit, being able to shoot in combat. But yeah, jet bikes with fly is looking useful with the new terrain. We'll see. By all indications, as I said, you still have to go around, and if there's going to be more terrain, there's going to be more terrain to go around and slow you down. So I think that's still going to be a problem, which is the problem they have now due to the fly keyword nerf. So unless they change fly keyword and how it interacts with terrain, we'll see. Maybe some of the terrain traits will interact with fly differently. Maybe it'll change on the terrain side. I don't know. There's a lot of traits we don't know anything about. So we'll see. We're still hoping for jet bike buffs. So, not taking heavy on the salvos is okay, but that's not reason enough to take them, I don't think. So we'll see. There's a lot we still don't know, and whether jet bikes will be good or not. If jet bikes get good, now we have way too many units to fit in an army. We're going to have to make tough decisions. So kind of maybe we don't want them to be too good. But, yeah. I think like if you had jet bikes and Venatari and they were exactly the same, but one was bike and one was fly infantry, you're obviously going to pick the fly infantry. So, obviously they're not the same, but keywords do matter. So, yeah, like, yeah, if jet bikes get good too, I don't know. I don't know what to take anymore. We're gonna need to play like 2 armies. Like it's just too much to try. Maybe run an army where you just have little units of everything run kind of MSU style. I don't know. Like 5 Akolon still does a lot of shots. Still does 40 shots. So maybe don't need 6. But I just like to max things out. Yeah. So it's hard to know without knowing the rest of our information. But I don't know. People can be pretty pessimistic about not seeing shield host traits and this and that and that. But I would say I think there's a lot for us to be optimistic about, and that is only a small portion of what we'll be getting. These leaks we've seen today. So I think people should be happy and excited for next week. Hopefully I'm going to get the book early, but no guarantees right now with the puzzle system. Not even the people who normally preview 1 week before are getting their books. They didn't get Engine War. So I'm not holding out hope, but on Saturday I've been promised we will definitely have rules. Whether I actually have a book or we get the rules from somewhere else, we will definitely have it. June 22nd, which is a Monday, not Monday after this weekend, but the Monday after our book is released, June 22nd, mark it off. I'm going to be streaming that afternoon, like all afternoon, covering the new book, going over it in fine detail, everything. And then that night, June 22nd evening, at our usual time of 9 p.m., we will be bringing back the stream for a game between myself and Francois with the new Custodes and a brand new list of all the goodness. So I don't know what Francois is going to bring, but that's going to be fun. We're going to try and play as many of the 9th edition rules as we know. And so it's going to be excellent Custodes Day on the June 22nd. So do mark that down. I just realized I had a whole mug of water and didn't take a single drink the whole time. Okay. In the meantime, guys, paint your sisters, which are out of stock by now, by the way. Do your Venatari and get your beefy boys. All right, guys. Good night.